Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like 3 at 100.
Welcome everybody. In front of you, I have the Trijicon Accupower mounted in a Geisley 34mm 0 MOA standard super precision mount. This is the optic that a lot of people have and use, but don't claim to use because the attacker exists. On any serious forum or discussion with a bunch of tactical LARPing enthusiasts, if you have a Trijicon, they'll ask you, when are you going to get the attacker? So first off, we have a 25 ounce optic with a 10.8 inch length, a width of 3.125 inches, and a height of 2.7 inches. The width is pretty much the turrets. Tube diameter is obviously 34 millimeters, which is pretty standard for your higher end optics in the 1-6 and greater. Most 1-8s you'll find are going to be in the 34 millimeter variant to have superior light transmission and optical clarity. The battery life is 31 hours on its maximum setting, which I seldom use. I usually hover between 8 and 9. 10 is usually the highest I go, and to be honest, I don't really use the Illumination that much. I will say if you stock up on batteries and seldom use the Illumination, you won't be in a bad position. So with this low power variable optic, you get an ambiguous manual. Really nice see-through, but one is yellow and one is clear. Not sure what they were going for there. Scope caps. You can shoot through this, and the illumination works through it too. And you get this cool little, you know, a scope bra or something. This says Trijicon on it, both sides. So you can put that on there, and then it's fine. Your magnification dial is very easy to move and is about 180 degree throw. It has a nice little fin right in between, almost at the 3 power magnification. On the dial, you'll notice, if I can get it in frame here. So you start dead stopped at 1 power, goes to 1.5 and 2 are pretty close next to each other. 3 is a little bit of a throw, 4 about half that gap, and then 5 through 8 happens really, really quickly. So these are a lot faster adjustments, and this is beneficial for when you're at a lower power, trying to get a wider field of view, maybe sitting at 3, and then you quickly run it up to 8, or you can tap it and get to 5 or 6 and still make a pretty clean, precise shot. Onto the turrets. So I really, really like these turrets. They're very easy to use. You push them down when you don't want to use them, and the clicks are very, very positive. 0.1 mils are very precise. It's a very, very precise adjustment range, and I've always found that the adjustments are spot on from my testing so far. But I'm not a sniper, so take that with a grain of salt. Same is true for the windage turrets. Very, very precise and easy to use, and then when you're done you just push it back in and it stays put. There's absolutely no play whatsoever when the turret's pushed down, and it doesn't really snag on any gear. There's no way to do that. You have to deliberately pull the turret out and then push it back in. So very, very nice setup with the turrets. I'm very, very happy with these turrets. They're very easy to use. Onto the Illumination Turret. So very similar, very positive on-off adjustments, and it's very, very easy to use, and you don't hit it inadvertently. So your eye relief with this optic is 4 to 3.9 inches, which is pretty solid. I think that has to do with your adjustments here and then max magnification. I don't really find that I get that telescoping effect where the eye box gets smaller as the magnification gets dialed in if I'm on the rifle properly. If I'm offset from directly behind the optic, then I have some issues. The eye box is better than some optics I've looked through, but your overall rule of thumb is you're going to want to be as positively and consistently planted behind this optic as possible. So just keep that in mind when you're mounting one of these, and consistency is your friend. Additionally, the exit pupil is a by 28. This is kind of rare. A lot of optics usually use a straight tube. Your 30mm tubes usually have a 20mm exit pupil, and this is a 28, which gives you really solid light transmission, and you have a very nice field of view when looking through this optic. So I'm very pleased with the light transmission. I really like that this is a thing, and it's overall very solid. As far as the build quality and construction and how rugged it is, if you watch Sage Dynamics, he chucked it off a 2-story balcony and it survived, and it's marketed as a tactical optic. This is not military grade. They reserve that for their VCOG series, but I'm sure that this would, if the Razor can do it, this can do it. This is a very robust and well-built optic. It's very heavy duty, and it has a very solid coating on it, and it's also made out of very strong aluminum. So I'm very happy with this optic, and I have zero reservations about trusting it on a serious duty use rifle, and I have no reservations about giving it that duty grade endorsement. All right, now here's your point of contention. Your primary point of contention is the reticle. For me, I like the reticle. The reticle is fast, and for someone who's not trying to snipe, it is very quick and easy to pick up targets. 9-hole reviews used a SCAR and this optic to shoot out to 800 or 900 yards. 700 or 800 yards? I don't remember. I'll have to watch the video again. I'll drop it down in the description for everyone to reference so they can go watch the video for themselves. I agree with his assessments on this optic and a reticle. This is a fast assault style reticle. Now, Democrats don't get excited. What I mean by that is it is a fast target acquisition reticle, and for micro adjustments and hold-offs, it is not necessarily a hyper precision optic. I will tell you that I have achieved very excellent precision, and when I was getting my zero on this rifle in the first episode with the whole tortoise thing, I was literally able to incrementally walk the rounds into the bullseye. So the adjustments and what I could see through the glass and how the reticle works really does lend itself to clean work, but it's not necessarily a precision optic. So you're not going to be making, you know, dime-sized holes at 300 yards. That's not what this optic is for. Another thing that bears mentioning that a lot of people skip over is the box of death. And the box of death in the reticle is the first mil markings around the crosshair at 200 and possibly 300. I haven't really tried it, and the steel targets that I've shot are abnormally shaped. They're not standard IPSC targets. But for my experience so far at 200 yards, the reticle makes this really convenient box of death, and so long as you can get said box of death around a target, you're going to get a hit with smooth trigger control. So hitting stationary targets at 200 yards and even 100 yards is very, very simple because the reticle is so easy and intuitive to use. Additionally, the more that I've started to shoot long range, the less I use the max magnification. More often than not, I try to see what I can do with more field of view and less dialing into the scope magnification. So, and this is something that I'm learning from precision shooters. They might PID their target at their maximum magnification on their scope and then dial it back out a little bit to make a cleaner shot. Additionally, and I don't know why this is, but when you're at a smaller magnification, you can usually make a cleaner shot without all of the shaking and all that other stuff that goes into being at maximum magnification, trying to steady yourself to make a really precise shot at range. So more often than not, having it at 3, 4, or 6 power is really advantageous. And again, this reticle is extremely usable at those magnifications and at range. So I really, really like this optic, and I really, really like the combination of all its features and the reticle. So the glass is super clear, reticle is really excellent, and it helps me with my shooting discipline make some really, really clean shots. But I will say what it lends itself to, despite its size and weight, which really isn't bad. A lot of guys compare this to the Attacker, and it's about the same size and weight. So, you know, you're really splitting hairs here, but it's really, really well suited for quick engagements, quickly picking up your targets, and laterally cleaning targets. There's a video of me here running it at 3 power.
Oh, there's 2 more steel targets now. What?
And as you can see, I had a trigger control miss at 200 yards, but otherwise I was set to go 100%. The optic is remarkably capable, and the clarity that I get from this optic is superb. The glass is above the Vortex Razor in my opinion, having used both optics. I know there's going to be some Vortex Razor guys that are going to yell blasphemy and call me a boomer. The Knuckles Battalion to spit on me for heresy, but the glass is better. I get a clearer picture, and it's slightly flatter. Now I will say this is Japanese glass. This is not American glass, and it's not going to be as crystal clear as an ACOG. It's also not as good as the Attacker. I will say though, and I am going to get a lot of flack for this, but from 1 to 4, the Attacker looks like the Trijicon glass. But from 4 to 8, the Attacker looks super crystal clear, and the image somehow gets super flat. I don't know why or how that works, but Night Force Attacker that I got to mess with the Trijicon, I actually, full disclosure, I got to play with all 3 optics at once. I own this one, obviously. I've had this for quite some time now and have been using it for a while, but I got to compare it with the Attacker, which is superior, and the Vortex, which is not, in my opinion. Especially for the price that I paid for this. I paid $1,250 when this first came out. I got it on sale, and I was very lucky to get it at that price point at that particular time. Since then, it has come down quite a bit. So you can usually get into these between $1,000 and $1,150, $1,175 range, which compared to the Vortex Razor HD, you're getting a lot more optic and a lot more precise and usable reticle, in my opinion. So if I was put in a position where I had to choose an optic and it was between the Vortex and this, I'm picking this every single time.
bad you had. What? I was trying to get the camera off.
Now, it comes with reticles being extremely subjective. So what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you, and preferences are always going to be different. So I don't want to say that this is way better and you're an idiot for using a different optic, because that optic elitism comes out real fast. And to be honest with you, I can get 2 of these for the price of the Night Force Attacker, but I don't want to fall into the trap of, well, this is cheaper and it's just as good. It's not just as good. In my mind, this is the number 2 optic in the 1-8 segment. So you have the Night Force Attacker, and I'm not even going to get on the Schmidt and Bender conversation because I've looked through one and it completely changed my mind. It was like that cat video where they put the little flower on its head and the prophecy was true. I'll put that in the description too so you can get equally as ignorant as me. But the attainable optics, and $2,700 for a 1-8 is the absolute top I would ever spend. The Night Force Attacker is the top dog, number 1. Whatever you want to say, the Night Force Attacker wins. All you Night Force fans can celebrate. But Trijicon goes, it is not the unwanted redhead stepchild that a lot of people treat it as. There's a large community of shooters that use this optic and use it effectively. They also really enjoy having it, and it's a very quick optic to do a lot of work. You can put it on a recce setup and have a great time. You can put it on a 308 battle rifle and have a great time, and it'll put up with that abuse. So it's an excellent diverse optic that if you had to press it into a precision optics roll, you can get some good mileage out of it, but it's more suited for a fast assaulter optic. I also think the reticle is a lot more usable than what you're going to find in your Vortex Razor, which, let's be honest, it's a magnified red dot. It has a crosshair, it's got some subtensions no one knows how to use. I guarantee you most Vortex shooters don't use it like that. They just use it as a magnified red dot, and that's where this thing really shines, is you have really accurate milliradian marked subtensions in your reticle that you can use, and it's a first focal plane reticle, so no guesswork. It really is a perfect pairing with this rifle and its intended purpose. The MR556 is a very accurate rifle, especially with the 77 grain Black Hills TMKs and the trigger and the 1-8 in the super precision mount. This is just a symphony of accuracy. This rifle hits stuff a lot easier than it would if I didn't have it on there. Can I do the same thing with the Attacker? Probably. I might even be a little bit better with the Attacker with the wind holds and everything once I learn that Horus style reticle. However, this is just a really fast, easy setup to use. I really am a strong advocate of this optic, and it's not brand preference because this is my first Trijicon optic. It's from use. So I really enjoy this optic. I'm going to have other optics on other projects. I have quite a few different brands I'm going to be using, and for my MR762 DMR I went with a Steiner. I didn't go with another Trijicon, I went with a Steiner. So I don't really have optic brand allegiance. I use what works, and I employ things that are intuitive to use, and this thing really does deserve a lot of credit that doesn't come its way. It's a very overlooked and underappreciated optic, and I really think it's the unsung hero of the 1-8 bracket, because you have the primary arms, which is a direct knockoff of this, and yes, it has a really cool reticle, but at the same time I would much rather have the Trijicon. And the Attacker, beautiful 1-8. I'm not spending exactly what this rifle costs to get good performance out of it. And I am an advocate of putting nicer glass on the rifle you intend to use, so I'm not really taking a shot at Night Force. What I am saying is I was able to really achieve excellent performance out of not a budget optic by any means, but a reasonably priced, easy to obtain optic. And I think that you can give it to a novice and they can easily learn it and use it. And you can also give it to someone who's very experienced and they will use it just as well, if not better. So it's not a handicap optic. It's not a, I'm just gonna get this till I can get something better optic. This is a very serious use, duty grade optic that you can put on a rifle, use it for patrol, use it as your bump in the night rifle, use it as your bug out rifle, your SHTF, LQRZ, whatever rifle, and be very, very well equipped and not undergunned. So I do recommend it very, very strongly. I think unless you're going to spend the money for an attacker, this is an easy choice to make because it is just very easy to use, excellent quality, and a very, very rewarding optic to run because I'll tell you, it woke this rifle up. I had a 1-4 PST just to see if I liked variable power optics, and I upgraded to this, and I don't want to change it. I'm not going to put an attacker on this. I am going to buy an attacker, but I'm not putting one on this rifle. This is exactly how this rifle is going to stay. It is completely set up. I'm not changing a thing. So, highly recommend this optic. Very, very solid. And if you purchase one, if you can, make sure you try to shoot one before using it if possible, or if you can look at one in a store and see if the reticle works with your eye. But these are very, very outstanding optics, and don't let the internet community or a bunch of gun shop motards or Joe Bobs or any of those guys try to talk you out of using this optic if you like it, because they're talking you out of something that is very, very usable and very, very functional. And if you put this style rifle with a high power flashlight, you can overcome any of its shortcomings during the evening. But that's any low power variable optic. That's going to be your attacker, that's going to be your Schmidt and Bender, that's going to be anything that's super high quality is going to have the same shortcomings this will during low lights. A lot of guys out there using them, so don't let people tell you this is the moped optic. This is a very, very solid optic. I will own more of them, and they will be going on other project rifles that I have planned. It is a staple, in my opinion, and the piston didn't beat it up. So, still running strong on a piston rifle. I know the MR556 is not the piston rifle to test it on. You want to test it on your FALs or your SCARs, go ahead, but very, very solid optic, very repeatable, and I trust my life to it on this rifle. So, first optic review. I know I probably was a little repetitive, and I have quite a few more planned, so I'm going to try to refine that process. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Take care of each other, stay safe, and support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America.
I got you. Oh shit, bud.
Felt all of that.
Did you? Yeah. Because yours spit shit forward. Mine is just a.
Oh.
Oh, hit me in the face.
I can feel the.
Your teeth, huh?
After.
Shit.
So